Hi, thanks for tuning in today for another Front Porch Conversation with Advent Christian Village. Today I have with me Jenelle and Charles Moore. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
We want our members to know more about you, and I've enjoyed getting to know you over the years, and I wanted to share that with everybody today.
Thank you.
And the two of you live on Cardinal Circle?
No, we live on Park Center Drive.
Park Center Drive, that's right. You should know where you live. I'm the one who doesn't. I just don't know what to call it.
Even the mailman has trouble sometimes.
Magnolia Terrace.
Magnolia Terrace. And how long have you lived here?
3.5 years.
Well, tell our viewers today, Charles, where you were born, and then you, Jenelle, and a little bit about your early life.
Well, I was born in North Carolina, in Johnston County, at a little place called, where the town is Four Oaks, North Carolina, which is just off I-95. But I was born about 15, 20 miles south of that in a place called Bentonville, which was a Civil War battle in North Carolina. So that was the area in which I was born.
And you grew up?
Raised. I lived there till I was in first grade. We moved to Raleigh in 1945, I believe it was.
And Jenelle, what about you?
Okay, I was born in North Carolina, also in Johnston County, but on the other side of the county, and near a little town called Zebulon. And I was born at home. Yep. So it was a very small place, and at first Mom and Dad were farmers, and then we moved to the Garner, Raleigh area when I was about 7, something like that. Yeah, so I've only lived in 2 counties in my whole life, besides Swanee, and that was Johnston and Wake County in North Carolina. And of course, Wake County is the capital, has the capital city of Raleigh. So we had some of the best of the both worlds in the county, as well as living close to some areas if we wanted to go to a movie or if we wanted to do something special, it was available for us.
Charles, you were telling me about one of your fondest memories the other day, and it involved a big pile of sawdust, or was it dirt?
Sawdust. Let me say, too, that I was born at home, and also the room in the house that I was born in had the house had a wrap-around porch. 3 sides of that house had porch. 3 sides of the room had porch. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. But back to the sawdust pile. We were on a farm, and about 2 miles from our house was what I thought was a huge sawmill. The old-timey sawmill, they had the belts and all this kind of stuff, and there was a huge sawdust pile out behind. And I used to aggravate my dad about climbing that sawdust pile. So he finally gave in one day and said, okay, go for it. And I'm not sure how long it took me, but it was 2 foot up and 2 foot back every time you tried to get to the top of that thing. Finally, I got to the top, and I was on the top of the world. I could see everything. And down on the back side of it was a small creek that I didn't even realize was there. And right beside that creek was a white lily in bloom. And immediately the thought came to me, the lily of the valley, because just about every Sunday at church, somebody sang the lily of the valley. And that stuck with me, and it still has today. And that was my first mountain that I had ever seen. And I really thought that was a great, great thing. And I guess I was bitten from that time on. From then on, I couldn't get enough of the mountains.
Later on in our interview, you're going to tell us more about you and mountains, right?
Yes.
Okay. What about you, Jenelle? A childhood memory?
Well, a lot of my childhood memories stem around family and grandma, grandpa, visiting them on Sunday after church. and everybody did. So we got an opportunity to see all my cousins and aunts and uncles and whatever, and we just had such a wonderful time. I remember those things. And also church has always been a very strong point in my life that we attended. As a matter of fact, the Garner Attic Christian Church was built across from my house. And my sister and I sat on the front porch during that summer of 52, 53, 19, 52, 53, oh my gosh, and watched them build the church. And we attended the very first church service there. Yeah, and Charles is also a charter member of the Garner Attic Christian Church.
What about education? Where did you go to school, and what careers did you pursue?
Well, I went through high school. I started first grade. Well, I did the first grade at Fort Oaks High School. And then Dad moved to Raleigh. He hurt his back on the farm and couldn't farm very good anymore, so we moved to Raleigh. And went through grammar school and went through 2 high schools. One of them was Hugh Morrison High School. At the time, it just had 11 grades. And then we consolidated, and I went across town to a Needham Broughton High School. And then I got out at the end of that year, and that fall I started at NC State University for a year, and then decided I'd had enough schooling at that time. So I got a job with the North Carolina Highway Department, and I stayed with them 37 years. And decided it was time for me to retire.
Janelle, what about you?
Well, I only attended 2 schools, unlike Charles, Auburn Elementary in Wake County the first year, my first grade, and then from the 2nd through the 12th grade, I attended Garner High School, and I have many, many friends now. Some that, I went all the way through school, and I still continue to correspond with them, and we've gone from letters to texting and to, we're trying to keep up with all the new technology and stuff. But I still have some real good friends that I've had for many, many years. And then after I graduated from Garner, and that was in 59, such a long time ago, but I was accepted at the Wilson School of Nursing, and it was a 3-year program, and I graduated, and of course had to take state boards, and passed, and so I'm a registered nurse. Yes.
And then you worked in the nursing field, I understand, for a while, and then changed?
Yes, I worked for about 14 years in doctor's offices and hospital and recovery rooms, surgery, and so forth. And then in 1975, I had the opportunity to start teaching health occupations at Enloe High School in Raleigh, and I enjoyed that very much. I like high school students. They are really, they're my favorite. But I enjoyed that. And I retired in 2002.
Well, somewhere along the line, the 2 of you must have met. What is that story?
In church. At church.
Yeah, I remember her sitting on the porch while the church was being built. Later on, I decided, that's my wife, but it took me a long time to convince her.
You never told me that.
So that's how we lived. But and then after that, while she was in nursing school, she had started nursing school when I started work with the state of North Carolina. So we couldn't get married because she was still in school. So I finally decided, well, if I play this thing right, because I knew Uncle Sam was going to get me and put me in the Army, because I remember them signs when they used to hang them up, he's pointing at you and said, I need you. And I knew I didn't have a chance of not going in. So I went down to the draft board one day and I said, I know you got my number. When's it coming up? And they said, well, about a year. And I said, well, let's move it up. And I said, okay. So within 60 days, I was gone. But that fell right into my plan because I got out. She got out of nursing school something like June.
No, it was
August. And I got out of service in September. And then we got married in November. See, I remember.
Are you going to tell us what year?
Oh, you going to tell us what year?
1960.
No. 1962.
Yeah.
1962.
Threw me off a minute.
I know. It was 60 when you went in the Army.
Yeah. That's right. 62 when we got out. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Janelle, was your nursing school one that wouldn't allow you to get married while you were in school?
No, it could have.
Okay, but I've heard of programs that were that way.
Some do. As a matter of fact, we had some of students from other schools of nursing to transfer to Wilson School of Nursing because they did get married. And so we had some of them, which is, they needed a place they were good nurses. Mm-hmm. The key was that rules, when you have a rule, you need to follow it.
And I just wanted to make sure she finished school.
Well,
because she's looked after me ever since.
Yes, this is true. But anyway, my nursing skills, I want to tell you, have come in. It's almost like a miracle in that I enjoyed nursing, and I still enjoy being a caregiver. I'm a better caregiver than I am a patient, but it was a God thing because we have used it so much, not only helping others, but our own family.
Well, and then for you to be able to, as a teacher, help those students know that it's not just, for their career, but to help families as well. I think that's a great gift.
Thank you.
I think to the T, every nurse that I've ever talked to would make that same statement that you did.
What?
That I'm not a very good patient.
Oh.
I can vouch for that.
Wait a minute.
Because I'm the caregiver now, and she really doesn't like that.
Well, after marriage, children came along?
Yes, we had a boy, and he was born in 1964, and a daughter in 1966, David and Diane. Yes, we had two. And we have two granddaughters, Samantha and Allison. And Samantha's 25 now, and Allison's 24. I believe. Yeah.
Charles, you were in the military for a while. Which branch were you in, and what did you do there?
I was in the Army, and Third Army. And after I got out of basic training, I was assigned to Fort McPherson, Georgia, which was, at that time, was a Third Army headquarters post. And as I said, I was assigned to a military police company, and I was the personnel specialist for them, and then there was a couple of other military type that was associated with us. But I spent my entire Army career in a military police company. And then even with the summer camps and so forth that finished out my obligations, I was actually able to spend 2 weeks instead of the meeting every month. I spent 2 times in Atlanta, Georgia, in what they called 12th Corps, in an office building downtown, working for 2 weeks. So I could not have had a better place for my military duty. and it was all right within the city limits of Atlanta, Georgia. But it was, like I said, it was all headquarters type stuff. Our barracks was right across the road from what we call General Row. There was 3 or 4 generals that lived in that area, and but it was good duty, and I enjoyed it. Main thing, I was going to get out about the time she got out of school, and it worked.
It's good when a plan comes together.
Yes.
I know that you both have kind of a unique story about how you learned about Advent Christian Village. Would you share that with us?
I told people that I think that I heard about the Advent Christian Village while I was in a cradle. Because as long as I can remember, my dad talked about if he ever lived long enough to retire, he wanted to go to the Advent Christian Village. My mother died early from cancer. And then after several years, he remarried. And he and my stepmother moved to the village at that time.
What year was that?
It was about 81, I believe it was.
1981.
And he lived down here for 21 years. And I believe she lived another 6 years, I believe it was. So I've been accustomed to the village. I knew about it all my life. And at that time, I never dreamed that I would be here. But we moved in 2015. Yeah.
Has anything surprised you about living here?
No, not really, because I had a right much idea of what was going on before I got here.
Yeah, we visited a lot.
We visited quite a bit. Yeah. So I knew quite a bit about it, the village, before I came.
But the change that it made from around the 2000s, around 1995 to 2000, 2005, a lot of change started going up, and so forth, and new homes, and bigger, and more things available, and we can just leave our apartment and walk down Park Center Drive to the church and see a wonderful concert. I mean, you can't do it. It's like going to New York City.
Yeah, I still tell people that I live in the most convenient apartment in the entire village. I can walk anywhere I want to go.
And I see both of you out walking often.
Yes, we do.
Good for you.
Yes, we do.
Well, speaking of walking, Charles, I think one of the first times we met was after you started volunteering on the trails. And you want to tell us a little. You were one person who came to the village with an idea in mind of what you wanted to do as a volunteer, and you started doing it.
Well, someone here at the village mentioned to me one time after I got here, said, you want to consider taking care of the trails? We need someone. And I thought about it, and I thought, that's right down my alley, because I had hiked the Appalachian Trail. So I was interviewed and so forth, and I took the job on, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. It has made my 3 years go by quickly. It's a hard job. It's one you never finish. Every time the wind blows or we get a big rain or storm, some trees come down. Always limbs come down. So you continually keeping it cleaned up. And I got some help from time to time from other people. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I still enjoy it. But as I said, it was right what I wanted to do. I needed to be outside doing something instead of sitting in an office or something like that.
Or sitting in his lounge chair.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, will you now share a little bit with our viewers about your goal to hike the Appalachian Trail and what kind of you did to get prepared and some of those experiences?
Well, I think it all started from the top of that sawdust pile.
That's why I wanted you to start there.
It started from that, and about a couple of years after that, Dad took the family to the mountains, and that's the first time we had been. And on that trip, we crossed the Appalachian Trail up above Cherokee, North Carolina. And I was bitten right then because I saw some hikers that were coming through, and I'll always remember one had killed a rattlesnake, a huge rattlesnake, and he was holding it in his hands, and they were trying to thumb to get a ride, which they weren't going to get with that snake. So I think my dad told them, guys, he said, if you want to ride, put that snake in your backpack. And they did stuff in the backpack, but we left, but I'm sure they got a ride at that point, but they were not going to get a ride with that snake. but that started it, and from then on, I was always wanting to hike. I'd always wanted to be out. I was always outside, rambling in the woods, even when I was living on the farm, as a first or second grader. But it was in my blood, and from then on, every chance I got, and Dad was the same way. He loved to get out, and he would walk with me a little bit in those earlier years. But I kept every chance I'd go to a different place. I covered most of the trails in the western North Carolina over the years, and all the time I had a desire to hike the Appalachian Trail, but I never told anyone because I figured it was impossible.
Didn't tell me.
I had a wife, I had a family, kids to look after, a job to maintain, and so it was up after I retired, and I had to retire a little early because of eye problems, the detached retinas in both eyes, but after a lot of surgeries, I finally got those straightened out, and one day I just casually, something was said, I don't remember exactly what, but Jenelle said, I said something to the fact that I'd always wanted to hike the Appalachian Trail. And she took it up from there. Said, well, if you're going to do it now. And she was right because I was almost 60 years old at that point.
Yeah. Well, see, the trail turned 60 in 1997. That was the year that he hiked the trail. And, of course, he was born in 1937, and 1997 he would be 60. So they had birthdays, so it was the time to go.
So I aggravated her a little bit around the house, and the first thing she would say to me most of the time was, good thing I hiked. So I took a hike. It lasted 6 months. But I thoroughly enjoyed that trip. It was amazing. I talked to a lot of other hikers about preparing for the trip and so forth, and we all agreed after the hike that you really can't get prepared for it. You've got to do it. You can take all the weightlifting and all that you want to, but you're still going to hurt so bad you don't know whether you're going to get up the next morning or not. So once you get out there and get started and get your system, get your body in tune to it, you can take it and go with it. I think most people that want to do the trail can do it physically, but the worst problem with it is mentally. The mental part will break you down before you even know it. You just got to keep in tune with what you're doing and don't let your mind wander off on something else. But and that got me through. That was the Lord's help because I learned to pray a lot, and most of my prayers was, Lord, how am I going to get to the top of this mountain? Or how am I going to get down the other side? And going down was always worse than going up. Always.
And I understand most people who hike the trail have a nickname. What was yours?
Mine was Red Top, because believe it or not, at that time I had red hair. But it's slowly receded, but now it turned gray. But I gave myself the name because I didn't want somebody else to give me another name that might not fit as well. And we had a habit of naming people that didn't have a name when you're on the trail, and some of those names weren't too good.
You know, I think when we were talking the other day that if there were two people hiking that trail, plus God with you, but Jenelle, in the sense that if she hadn't been the support, you felt that wouldn't have been as successful.
Oh yeah, I could have never done it if she hadn't been willing for me to do it. She was a part of it. She wasn't on the trail, but I knew I had her support, and she would support me in mailing packages to me at various post office along the way and that kind of thing. For instance, I would take up several rolls of film and send it home, and then she would, in some cases, send me more film and take the pictures and label them so when I got back home I could put them back in the right order and so on and so forth.
Supplies and shoes.
Supplies, yeah.
And camera.
Camera, shoes, ruined the camera, it quit. I don't know what happened to it, but had to get another one. And
how many pair of shoes?
I destroyed 2 pair of boots, 2 pair of heavy hiking boots, and one of them I had to go to a house that the guy had never seen me. I had never seen him before, but I asked if he had some screws and a screwdriver that I could put a heel back on the boot. And he found some screws, and I put that heel back on and wore it for several months.
Well, you were resourceful in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I want to thank you both so much for joining us today, and I know that our members are going to enjoy getting to know you better through this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.